After months of questioning how a critical service in southern Kentucky will be operated and funded, we now have some answers. Details on the EMS service agreement. Plus, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is meeting with key figures in Israel. The latest efforts to push for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas.
Plus, a soggy weather pattern is looming for Friday and the weekend. Those details on the way as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
A Southern Kentucky EMS service will continue on as a joint city-county venture. Months of negotiations have resulted in the Somerset-Pulaski County EMS continuing as that operation. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on the agreement reached.
There had been months of questions and concerns. How would the city-county operation continue in the future? How would employees still be assured that they would have security on the job? Those questions have finally been answered through this new interlocal agreement, giving employees security and the community knowledge that the county-run, city-operated service would continue on. The previous agreement did not include a funding increase, and the chief of the EMS service says this new agreement does provide for that. Stephen Eubank says that is good news with inflation and other increases, including the impact of COVID-19. Questions were raised over ownership. He says the city and county worked very hard on a solution.
Basically continue the way we are, but get some oversight in and look at ways that we can improve.
At the end of the day, our goal was continuity of care for our people and then make sure that our employees are well taken care of. Our first responders are really important to us, and we wanted to make sure that the benefits they had come to expect, their retirement, their insurance was maintained.
And this new agreement had the county agreeing to new monetary terms and the city agreeing to some new financial advisory concerns, including the formation of a financial advisory board. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
The new interlocal agreement will take effect July 1st of this year. Kentucky's highest authority was at the track ahead of the state's biggest event. Governor Andy Beshear visited Churchill Downs in Louisville for the first time this Derby week. One of the things he talked about today was what the track is doing to keep horses safe after a string of horse deaths around last year's Run for the Roses.
Working with Churchill, working with other groups to make sure that doesn't happen in the future. Looking at all of the different reasons that could have been happening, how we keep horses that may be dinged up from running, making sure that the right incentives are in place that prioritize the health of the horse. That's what we're always going to want to prioritize.
Last year, a dozen horses died at Churchill Downs over 6 weeks. Race officials moved them to a different track for the rest of the spring meet, but they never found anything inherently wrong with Churchill that may have led to the deaths.
We are tracking a picture-perfect day on this Wednesday. Let's take a live look from our studios in Hazard, and you can see hardly a cloud in the sky back in the distance. Plenty of sunny weather on this Wednesday, and the temperature is above average. We should be close to 73 or 74 degrees, and most of us on this Wednesday in the upper 70s to lower 80s, up to 81 for Somerset, 82 for Irvin, 80 in Jackson, up to 77 for Pikeville, and 82 over in Harlan County at this hour. Up on the radar, tracking some dry weather, all thanks to high pressure, and this weather system will bring some more calm conditions to close out your Wednesday. Also on Thursday, if you have those plans this evening, we stay dry under a mainly clear to partly cloudy sky, and those temperatures not too bad. Once the sun sets, we see some upper 60s to lower 70s, and most of us wake up in the middle to upper 50s to walk out the door on your Thursday. One more mainly dry day on the way tomorrow, and some more hot weather is on tap on Thursday, but notice those rain chances are not far away. More details on that rain chance plus your Derby weekend forecast on the way in just a little bit. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is wrapping up his 7th visit to Israel since Hamas attacked the country. He's meeting with leaders to push for a ceasefire and hostage release deal. CBS's Natalie Brand has the latest on his trip.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken tried to comfort demonstrators outside of his hotel in Tel Aviv Wednesday morning as they pleaded for the release of the remaining 133 hostages believed to be held in Gaza.
Bringing your loved ones home is at the heart of everything we're trying to do.
Secretary Blinken traveled to the region for high-stakes negotiations as the U.S. tries to help broker a deal for a ceasefire that will also bring hostages home.
Hamas has to decide whether it will take this deal. There is no time for delay. There's no time for further haggling.
Blinken met with some of the hostages' family members on Wednesday, including Aviva Siegel.
I feel like I'm broken up into pieces.
She told CBS News it's a painful wait. Siegel was a hostage herself, released in late November, but Hamas has held her American husband Keith for more than 200 days.
And I know that Keith has had enough. My family's had enough. My country's had enough.
Secretary Blinken also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for more than 2 hours as the White House urges Israel to limit the scale of its military operation in Rafah, where more than half of Gaza's 2.3 million residents are sheltering.
We will not support a major military operation in Rafah absent an effective plan to make sure that civilians are not harmed.
As the U.S. pushes for more humanitarian aid for Palestinians, Secretary Blinken made a stop at a key crossing in Israel and stressed the importance of accelerating the effort. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Despite the international pressure, Prime Minister Netanyahu said this week that the Rafah operation would move forward soon and that civilians would be evacuated. He did not say when the operation would begin. The House might soon be voting on whether or not House Speaker Mike Johnson can keep his job. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says she will force the vote after Johnson helped pass the $95 billion aid package for Ukraine. Democrats have pledged to kill the motion if it is brought up. Greene originally filed the motion to oust Johnson in March in response to conservative anger over his handling of the government funding fight.
We need leaders in the House of Representatives that are going to get this done. Not working for Hakeem Jeffries, not working for Joe Biden, and not going to be twisted and lulled into continuing the disgusting practices of Washington, D.C. Mike Johnson is not capable of that job. He has proven it over and over again.
Greene only has 2 co-sponsors on the resolution for the moment. A 6-week abortion ban takes effect today in the state of Florida. Until now, the state had one of the least restrictive abortion laws in the South with a 15-week abortion ban. The new restriction makes it a felony to perform or actively participate in an abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy. The ban has exceptions for rape, incest, and human trafficking up to 15 weeks and for the life of the mother and fatal fetal abnormalities. In November, Floridians will vote on a proposed ballot amendment that would protect abortion rights until roughly 24 weeks. Federal restrictions for marijuana could soon loosen. The Justice Department is starting the process of making it a Schedule III drug instead of Schedule I. The change could ease criminal penalties, help marijuana businesses bank more freely, and give tax benefits to state licensed operators. A Pew Research Center poll shows most Americans support legalizing marijuana. Some caution, though, marijuana can lead to health issues and addiction.
A lot of the news focus is on fentanyl, but we have 5 times as many Americans with cannabis use disorder or cannabis addiction as we do with opioid use disorder.
Reclassification takes months because of steps outlined in the Controlled Substances Act. The cargo ship that crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, causing it to collapse, is expected to be removed from the wreckage site. Authorities say the ship could be refloated and removed in less than 2 weeks. 182 containers have been lifted from the bow of the ship, which should be enough to start cutting and removing the bridge that remains on top of it. As of now, 2 victims still need to be found. Dive teams continue to look for them as more pieces of the wreckage are removed.
Very poor visibility down there. There's so much debris. We believe we have areas of interest, but we're unable to access those areas of interest. That's why it's so important for the Unified Command divers to work in conjunction with the salvage divers.
The The National Transportation Safety Board expects to release its preliminary report on the disaster this week. The deepest channel yet, at 45 feet, is on track to open by May 10th. Coming up on First at 4, it appears interest rates are going to stay higher for longer. We'll have a look at how current mortgage rates are impacting the housing market for both buyers and sellers.
And enjoy the sunny weather because higher rain chances are looming. Your forecast coming up after this break.